Imagine walking into a factory filled with noise, machines, and workers, and suddenly, your eyes lock onto someone who looks exactly like the child you lost years ago. For one billionaire, that moment wasn't just shocking. It opened a door to a truth he never expected. A truth that would break him. This is not a story about money or business empires. This is about family, heartbreak, and the haunting question, what if the person you've been searching for your whole life was right in front of you the entire time? Today, we're diving into the jaw-dropping story of a billionaire named Richard Halden. He had everything money could buy, except the one thing his heart longed for, his missing daughter. And the day he spotted a young factory worker who looked exactly like her, his world turned upside down. Stay with me till the end because the twists in this story will leave you speechless. Richard Halden wasn't just rich, he was one of those names you'd read about in magazines. Real estate, shipping, steel, tech, you name it, he had a stake in it. On the outside, he looked like a man who had conquered the world. But behind closed doors, he carried a wound that money couldn't heal. 10 years earlier, Richard's only daughter, Emily, had disappeared when she was just 12 years old.
She had been kidnapped from a park while playing.
And despite the police investigations, media coverage, and millions Richard poured into finding her, Emily was gone. The case went cold. No ransom, no leads, no closure. Richard never recovered. He blamed himself, after all. What's the point of having billions if you can't protect the person you love most? For a decade, he kept searching. Every city, every tip, every rumor. He even flew across countries when someone claimed they'd seen her. Each time he came back empty-handed, with hope slipping through his fingers like sand. To the public, Richard was untouchable. But in private, he was just a broken father hiding behind expensive suits. One morning, Richard made a surprise visit to one of his steel plants. The factory floor was buzzing with energy, giant machines groaning, sparks flying, workers hauling massive beams. Richard wasn't paying much attention until his eyes caught something that froze him in his tracks. A young woman in a neon safety vest, gloves, and an orange headband was carrying a steel beam across the floor. She looked up briefly, and Richard's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes, her cheekbones, the way her brow furrowed when she concentrated. She looked almost identical to Emily. Richard's breath caught. For a moment he thought time had rewound. He stumbled forward, his voice trembling. "Who hired you? What's your name?" The worker paused, a little startled. "Maya," she said softly. "Maya Johnson." Richard couldn't stop staring. The resemblance was uncanny. She wasn't just similar, she looked like Emily all grown up. But here's where the problem began. Maya wasn't some random worker you could easily trace. She had grown up in the foster care system. No parents, no real birth records. The only thing she owned from her childhood was a tiny, faded photograph of a baby wrapped in a pink blanket. She had carried it her whole life without knowing who that baby was or where she came from. Richard's heart pounded. Could Maya be Emily? The age matched. The photo was suspicious. The resemblance was undeniable. But what if it was just coincidence? What if his grief was tricking him? He knew one thing, he couldn't ignore it. Richard went into billionaire mode. He hired investigators to dig into Maya's past. And the deeper they dug, the stranger it became. Her foster records were incomplete. There were unexplained moves between different homes, missing files, and a mysterious gap around the age Emily would have disappeared. It was as if someone had erased her early years. Richard became obsessed. He sent his assistant to quietly collect a DNA sample from Maya, a glove she left behind. Days later, when the results arrived, Richard could hardly breathe as he read them. A 99.9% match. Maya wasn't just a worker. She was Emily, his Emily. You'd think this was the happy ending, right? Father and daughter finally reunited. But the reality was far more complicated. When Richard approached Maya with the truth, she didn't react the way he expected. She didn't break down in tears or hug him. She didn't call him Dad. Instead, she stared at him, her jaw tight. "You're telling me you're my father? The billionaire who lives in mansions while I was sleeping in shelters? While I was raising my siblings? Where were you when I needed you?" Richard tried to explain. He told her how he had searched endlessly, how he had never stopped hoping, how this moment was the one thing he prayed for every night. But to Maya, those words sounded hollow. Because here's the thing. While Richard was living in boardrooms and penthouses, Maya was living the brutal reality of foster care. She had starved, worked double shifts, and fought tooth and nail to survive. To her, a DNA test didn't erase those scars. Richard offered her everything: money, a new home, opportunities, anything she wanted, but Maya wasn't impressed. She wasn't interested in his wealth. What she wanted was something money couldn't buy. The childhood she lost, the years of love and safety that were stolen from her. Richard was crushed. For the first time in his life, his money was useless. He couldn't buy her forgiveness. He couldn't buy back time, but he refused to give up. He started visiting the factory more often, just to be near her. He asked about her siblings, her life, her dreams, slowly, painfully. He tried to earn her trust, not as a billionaire, but as a father. Maya kept her guard up, but over time little cracks appeared. She admitted she had wondered about her real family for years. She confessed that sometimes she looked at her photo and asked herself, "Who am I?" One night, Richard showed her something he had kept hidden for a decade: Emily's old bedroom, perfectly preserved in his mansion just as she left it. The posters on the wall, the toys, the pink bedspread, it was all there, frozen in time. Maya stood silently, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time, she realized maybe, just maybe, he had truly been looking for her. In the end, their story didn't wrap up neatly with a bow. Maya didn't immediately move into his mansion. She didn't instantly forgive him, but she agreed to meet, to talk, to try. It was a fragile start, but it was something, and for Richard, that was more valuable than all the billions in his bank account, because he finally understood. Family isn't about money, it's about presence, about being there in the moments that matter. And once those moments are gone, no amount of wealth can ever bring them back. If this story shook you, wait until you see the next one. It's even more unbelievable. Tap the video on your screen right now.